I cheated on my fiancé because my friends dared me to, so he played the security footage at my birthday party in front of everyone I loved, then walked out without saying another word. I can still taste the wine from that night, the one where Jess and Morgan convinced me it would be hilarious to see if David would actually stay with me if I cheated. God, writing that makes me sick now, but back then it felt like some twisted game of truth or dare we never outgrew. David and I had been together for 6 years, engaged for 8 months. He was the guy who brought me coffee every morning before work, who remembered my mom's birthday better than I did, who spent 3 weekends building me a reading nook because I mentioned wanting one once. But my friends kept saying I was settling, that I deserved someone who made more money, someone more exciting. They'd roll their eyes when I'd show them pictures of our quiet weekend trips, asking why I wasn't living it up like them. The dare came during girls' night. We were drunk on overpriced wine, and Jess said she bet David was too boring to even fight for me if I strayed. Morgan laughed and said most guys would just roll over and take it. Test him, they said. See what you're really worth to him. It sounded so stupid and harmless through the wine haze. I picked Marcus for my gym. He was everything David wasn't: loud, flashy, always bragging about his Porsche and his crypto investments. The type of guy my friends thought I should want. I told myself it was just proving a point, just one kiss to win a stupid bet. But Marcus had other ideas, and I was too proud to back down when he suggested his place. I lied to David about working late. Turned off my location. Put my phone on silent. Marcus poured expensive whiskey and kept telling me how David didn't appreciate what he had. How I deserved better. How a woman like me shouldn't be tied down to some basic guy with a basic job. I ate it up like I was starving. When Marcus kissed me, I kissed back. When he led me to his bedroom, I followed. I told myself I was just playing a part, just proving something to my friends. But when I was underneath him, moaning his name, there was no dare anymore. Just me, choosing to betray the best man I'd ever known. I drove home at 2 a.m., mascara smeared, smelling like Marcus's cologne. David was asleep on the couch waiting for me, my favorite takeout cold on the coffee table. He'd drawn me a bath and left rose petals. It was our 6-year anniversary. I showered for 40 minutes, scrubbing my skin raw, practicing my story about the late work meeting. David never questioned it. He just held me and apologized for falling asleep, said he'd make it up to me. I let him apologize for my betrayal. The affair lasted 3 weeks. I told myself I was gathering evidence, seeing if David would fight for me. But really, I was addicted to feeling wanted by someone who seemed more successful, more confident. Marcus took me to expensive restaurants, bought me jewelry, made me feel like the kind of woman who deserved more than homemade dinners and Netflix. My friends were thrilled. They said I was finally living my best life. They pushed me to keep going, to see how far I could push David before he'd react. It became a sick game where they'd rate my lies, suggest new places Marcus and I could go. I was too deep in to see how twisted it all was. David planned my birthday party for 2 months. He rented out the back room at my favorite restaurant, invited everyone I cared about, even flew in my college roommate from Portland. He was so excited, kept saying it would be the perfect night. I knew Marcus would be at his own friend's party across town, so I figured I was safe. The party was beautiful. David gave a speech about how lucky he felt to love me, how he couldn't wait to spend forever with me. Everyone clapped. I smiled and kissed him, tasting the lie on my lips. Then he dimmed the lights and said he had a surprise video. He'd been putting together a montage of our relationship, he said. Something special for my special day. The screen lit up with footage from our security camera. Me, 3 weeks ago, kissing Marcus against our front door before going inside to lie to David's face. Me, last Tuesday, sneaking out at midnight. Me, 5 days ago, letting Marcus into our home while David was at his dad's funeral. The room went silent. The video kept playing. Marcus's hands on me in our kitchen. Me leading him to our bedroom. Audio of me moaning his name in the bed David and I shared. I looked around the room. My parents, his parents, our friends, all staring at the screen in horror. Jess and Morgan looked like they wanted to disappear. My college roommate covered her mouth. David stood perfectly still, remote in his hand, watching his fiancée destroy everything he'd built for us. When the video ended, he looked at me with eyes I'd never seen before. Cold. Empty. Happy birthday, he said quietly. Then he walked out. I tried to follow him, but his brother blocked the door. Don't, he said. Just don't. The restaurant cleared out in minutes. No one looked at me. My own mother shook her head and left with my father without saying a word. I stood alone in the party room David had decorated with pictures of us, surrounded by the cake he'd ordered with forever written in frosting. My phone buzzed with a text from David. I'll have movers get your things tomorrow. Don't come home. That's when I realized there was no coming back from this. No explanation that would matter. No begging that would work. I had gambled everything on a dare, and I had lost it all in front of everyone who ever mattered to me. The movers came while I was at work the next day. David had packed everything carefully, even folded my clothes. He left my engagement ring on top of my jewelry box with no note. When I called him, his number was disconnected. When I went to our house, the locks were changed. Marcus ghosted me within 48 hours. Apparently, public humiliation wasn't the vibe he was going for. Turns out his Porsche was leased and his crypto investments were mostly lies anyway. The man I destroyed my life for couldn't even be bothered to return my texts. Work became unbearable. Someone had seen the video, Jess, probably, trying to save face by making me the villain. People whispered when I walked by. My boss, who'd known David from company events, could barely look at me. I was passed over for the promotion I'd been promised. When I tried to explain about the dare, about the pressure from friends, I sounded insane even to myself. Jess and Morgan stopped answering my calls. They told mutual friends I'd taken things too far and they'd just been joking around. Suddenly I was the crazy one who couldn't take a harmless dare. They painted themselves as innocent bystanders to my moral collapse. David's friends, who'd been my friends too, cut me off completely. Sarah, who I'd been bridesmaids with, blocked me on everything. Tom, who'd helped me plan David's surprise 30th, looked through me at the grocery store like I was a stranger. I became a ghost in my own social circle. My parents were humiliated. Dad couldn't understand how he'd raised someone who would do something so cruel. Mom kept asking what David had done to make me cheat, refusing to believe I'd done it for something as stupid as a dare. When I told them the truth, they looked at me like they didn't know me at all. I had to move in with my sister, sleeping on her couch while her kids asked why Uncle David didn't come around anymore. Aunt Sarah made some bad choices, she'd tell them, and I'd pretend I couldn't hear the disappointment in her voice. The worst part was the silence. David didn't fight for me, didn't scream, didn't give me the chance to grovel. He just erased me from his life like I'd never existed. His Instagram showed him hiking with friends, looking peaceful for the first time in months. He looked healthier without me in his life. I tried therapy, tried explaining how my friends had pressured me, how I'd felt trapped by their expectations. But sitting there, saying it out loud, I heard how pathetic it sounded. A 28-year-old woman destroyed her relationship because her friends dared her to. I sounded like a teenager making excuses for shoplifting. I wrote David letters I never sent. Long explanations about the dare, about feeling inadequate, about being sorry. But every time I tried to explain, I realized how selfish it all was. I'd humiliated him in front of everyone he loved because I was too weak to tell my friends to shut up. There was no explanation that could fix that. 6 months later, I saw his engagement announcement on Facebook before I could stop myself from looking. She was beautiful, kind-looking, worked as a teacher. In the comments, all our old friends were congratulating him, saying how happy they were that he'd found someone who deserved him. No one mentioned me. It was like our 6 years together had been completely erased. I finally understood what I'd lost. Not just David, but the version of myself that had been worthy of love. The woman who'd had a man who would fly in friends for her birthday, who'd build her furniture with his bare hands, who'd trust her completely even when she didn't deserve it. I'd traded the love of my life for the approval of friends who dropped me the second it got messy. I'd gambled a future with a good man for 3 weeks with someone who couldn't even spell my name right in his texts. Now I'm 29, living alone in a studio apartment, watching David build a life with someone else through social media I can't stop checking. My friends were right about one thing, I did deserve better than David. I deserved the consequences of destroying the best thing that ever happened to me over a dare I was too cowardly to refuse.